Puppets Channel or Jay or any of those guys?
No, but tell them I'd love to do something with them. You know, I did a radio show for a year and a half in Chattanooga. It was #1. I did 2 hours on Sunday night, told stories and played
and that
vinyl.
Was the best time. People don't realize
Yeah,
that for
and
radio.
because it was when I was growing up, Sunday night was when the local stations played all the cool shit you couldn't hear any other time.
Yeah.
You know, so there's like a history of it. And then I talked to the guy that replaced him. He's gone now too.
After Steele was...
I can't remember the guy's name.
Brian,
yeah, and I have no idea who's doing it now. Oh,
I love
thanks.
Greg.
Yeah, he was cool. I don't know what happened, but oh well.
I think you know what, I think he was there for so long. And I think
they just needed a change. He plateaued out, yeah.
I think there was no more cap to go.
No more cap space.
And then I think it's...
all right.
I think that was... But he was great to work for.
Is this so I can hear myself?
If you want,
all right.
you don't have
Okay.
because we're not taking calls or anything.
All right.
I'm just using it for recording levels. But,
are you into sports at all?
Yeah.
Okay. We might talk a little sports with you.
All right.
Too.
What kind of teams you into? Like, LA teams or?
Detroit Lions all the way.
Oh, there you go.
2 years of disappointment.
Yeah.
At one point, I was trying to figure out if the NFL was like the WWE, scripted.
Yes. All right, save it.
Yeah.
This is good stuff.
Okay.
Are you intro? I've done the last 4 intros.
Okay. Check. Hey, what's up, everybody? We are in Nashville, Tennessee at the 2025 Rock N Pod Convention, Rock Strap Special Edition. Don Jamieson, Keith Roth, and our special guest this week is former executive in the music business and current host of Hey Tom Zutaw, Can You Get Me In on YouTube. And man, this guy's got a million stories. Tom, welcome to Rockstar.
I'm so happy to be here with you guys. It's like I've known you forever. You know, obviously I watched that metal thing that you did for a while, and you know, I'd end up in a club somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and you'd be doing a gig there, and you know, we'd run into each other, and Keith, I feel like I know you because I listen to you on Sirius XM all the time.
Wow, Tom.
And yeah, I mean, I listen to you and Tommy, and I love what you guys do.
You know, with the biggest regret that Nikki Sixx ever had was not producing Guns N' Roses. But I have to get you on my Sirius XM show to have our own little.
There you go. Yeah, we'll do our own clip that you can run over and over again. The first time I heard it, I was driving from the middle of Tennessee down to Chattanooga, and I hit the Nickajack, and that clip came on, and I said, Dad, we got to pull over right now. And I made a videotape of my Sirius XM screen, you know, and I was like, I can't believe Nikki admitted this, but it's 100% true. I begged him, pleaded with him to produce GNR. I dug him up from a heroin stupor, yeah. I just thought, you know, what we got with Motley Crue, and I needed this rawness from GNR, and I still to this day can't believe he said no. So when I heard him making it his biggest regret, I smiled.
Because you told him, you warned him. I mean,
I did.
Or you gave him the idea. I mean, that's amazing, you know, because you were involved with Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses. I mean, and that was when it was like the real deal. I mean, did you feel like and I also know you were a big music guy, like not just metal guys. I mean, I know you were into like X and the Germs and all that stuff that was happening in Hollywood at that point. Did you feel like there was anything after that, or did you feel like it kind of reached its climax and it was time for something new?
As far as the punk thing, the LA punk scene, or
just like, you know, Motley Crue, Guns, these are the pinnacle of the Hollywood strip, you know, music.
Well, let's put it this way. Right, I was in that punk thing with, you know, the Blasters and X and the Germs and Fear.
Loved
and
all those
one of my greatest moments from that scene was convincing John Doe and Exene Cervenka to let Michael Wagner do a song with them. And I was in the studio, I'm in that chorus, wild thing, you know, screaming. And of course it went into the Major League movie and took on a life of its own and brought X an audience they might not have ever had, right? And then, you know, Motley Crue came out rock was dead. Everyone was tired of Fleetwood Mac, Foreigner, and Journey, and even Kiss at that point, right? And so Motley Crue regenerated. Then all of a sudden, there are hundreds of Motley Crue cover bands, Poison cover, it's no longer moving forward. And then I stumble into GNR because Slash drew a poster of the Pistols and the Roses, and like driving down Sunset and finding Motley Crue sold out at the Whiskey, talking my way into the show with Mario, who owned the Whiskey and the Rainbow and part of the Roxy at that point.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. We miss you, Mario. But, you know, seeing that poster is like the same thing. And, you know, they end up changing the scene. And then the next thing I know is that music and all those bands are starting to get boring. And all of a sudden, the Seattle grunge wave hits. And it's like, oh my God, rock is dead. What are we going to do next? I mean, I went to England, signed the Stone Roses, signed Elastica, who had a one-hit wonder with Stutter.
Can I tell you how much I love both those bands? The Stone Roses record is probably the greatest Brit pop record I've ever heard. I love that band so much.
Well, you know, I heard I Want to Be Adored, and I kicked myself in the head because I could have signed that band. I worked with a band called the Chameleons UK. They were the Chameleons, Script of the Bridge. And Strange Times I put out on Geffen. Well, their manager was like an old-time Manchester promoter. Tom, I'm telling you, you got to sign this band, right? And he was talking about the Stone Roses. And I said, yeah, you know, and then I never got to it, and they signed some indie deal. But I met with their manager, and I said, listen, if you can ever get out of this weird little deal, I'll bring you to Geffen. And I got that phone call, and they did the deal on a double-decker red bus in London. And then I found myself flying to London to ride in a car for 4 hours to Monmouth in Wales to Rockfield Studios to make that record, where Ian Brown wanted to do rap and John Squire wanted to be the next Led Zeppelin. So we made that record, you know, The Second Coming. And it felt like the second coming of Jesus for a minute because I didn't think it was ever going to happen. But you know, there was one song and John Squire was like, I'm not releasing this record without that song. Ian Brown is like, I will never sing that fucking song ever. And I'm like, how could I get you to sing it? He goes, the Marines would have to come in and point a gun at my head. So I called my cousin, who was a bigwig in the Marines, and I said, have you got any guys stationed like near Wales? And he's like, yeah. I said,
no shit.
Can I borrow like 5 of them? And their guns can be empty, but I need them to bring their heavy artillery. So that night, I left the window open to Ian Brown's room. And at about 6 a.m. at dawn, at daybreak, they poured in through the window with their guns and said, you're going to sing, motherfucker. And he got up and sang the song, and we put the record out.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, God.
I mean, you know, you look at Tom, and he's still a fan after all these years. Some guys, they feel like they've been through the meat grinder, and they're so jaded. But, you know, you still feel like you have that passion. You feel like you could still infect another generation with what's shaking now?
One of the biggest trends in music this year, there's 2 of them. One of them is that everybody's multi-genre. So, like, I can listen to Miss Dolly Rot in the mornings on the Underground Garage. I can listen to you on Ozzy's Boneyard or Hair Nation, right? Listen to Tommy, listen to Don. You know, I can listen to everybody, and I love it all, right? So I found a multi-genre band that I think has the spirit of Guns N' Roses, but their music is multi-genre. So, you know, a lot of record store people tell me that kids come in and they buy a Misfits record and Taylor Swift at the same time, you know. So it's really a crazy world, you know. And I did a show, I played vinyl records in Chattanooga on the number 1 station in Chattanooga. I would pick a city to live where the number 1 station in the market is the rock station, the classic rock station.
That's great.
And one of my biggest fights was they wouldn't let me play Korn. And I'm like, you know, like Jonathan Davis is my buddy. I met him in Prague, you know. I got a lot of stories to tell, and I want to play this Korn song. And they pull out a Cumulus Media sheet, and they're like, it's not allowed to be played. I said, you got to be kidding me, you know? Like, we're living in a new world, you know?
You should have called the Marines in.
Yeah.
With the guns.
Yeah. So it became hard to do it, but I was number one on Sunday nights
I can see why.
in Chattanooga, North Georgia, you know. But I love doing the show, and I shopped it to Greg Steele for a little while, and he almost did it, but then he left.
Legendary Sirius XM. My old boss, what a great guy.
Great guy, and he was going to bring me in to play vinyl, or at least pretend to play vinyl and tell stories, but then it fell apart.
They had the turntables going in there, and people were ripping stuff, and it was a beautiful thing. You know?
Yeah.
Me and Don are huge vinyl junkies. I mean, the only regret about today is missing Record Store Day.
Yeah.
You know, people are sending me pictures.
It was brutal.
Did you go?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I had someone go for me.
They got everything you needed?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of connected. I got the replacements, Tim, with Ed Stasium and the whole thing.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
I'm going to go. I'll probably hit the shops here in Nashville
gotta hit them,
tomorrow. There's so many.
Grimey's, right?
Yeah, Grimey's.
Well, there's vinyl, Vinyl Tap, Third Man Records. I mean, you can't shake a stick and not hit vinyl in Nashville.
But you might not get the record I produced that came out today, which is Tesla's Reel to the Reel of Tape, Volume 2.
Was that part of your release for today?
Yeah, I produced that record.
Yes, you did.
And we did that record all analog down at the Sonic Ranch in Tornillo, Texas, about 20 years ago.
Okay.
It was never on vinyl, so Volume 1 came out last year for Record Store Day, and Volume 2, Reel 2, came out this year. And the thing about that record is that we did a cover of Zeppelin's Thank You, and that song went on the radio and brought Tesla back to radio. Then they started playing all their old stuff in recurrent, so I felt like, we accomplished something.
Yeah, I remember Brian Weed talking about working with you on that record in his book.
Son of a
Because you forget, because he's so associated with Guns and Motley, but you forget all the other. But so before we run out of time, Nikki Sixx admitted his biggest regret, not producing Guns N' Roses. As a music wizard, as a guy who's so immersed in it, what's your biggest regret?
That's a good one.
There must be somebody that slipped by you somehow.
Well, my biggest regret is probably the fact that Dorothy Carvalho flew to LA, told John Kolodner, that I'll give you the Skid Row contract. And so this all went on behind my back. John Kolodner was also head of business affairs assistant at Geffen. So he got a copy of my executable contract, gave it to her. She flew back to New York, took it to Ahmet. Ahmet and David hated each other. Ahmet quadrupled the deal and signed Skid Row before I even knew it. I'd already lined up Michael Wagner to produce them. And so my biggest regret was losing Skid Row over sex. I mean, Sebastian Bach and I are still buddies. I mean, I was dressed up on the Kiss cruise as Santa Claus, and my wife Stacy was a reindeer, and Sebastian saw us and he's like, man, I got to have a picture of Tom Zutaut as Santa Claus and bring your reindeer in too. And then we all went to the last Kiss show at the Garden, and we got another great picture with Sebastian there. But that's really the one that got away, and I had no idea that had happened because, Michael Guido, the band's lawyer, had my contract. They're supposed to go in his office and sign it. Dorothy managed, it's in her book, she managed to fly to LA, sleep with Kolodner, get my executable contract out of the head of business affairs assistant, fly back, give it to Ahmet. And when I said to Doc McGee, I said, how could you do that to me? He goes, your deal was like $2 million. They offered me like $8 million. I didn't think you could do that. I said, I could do anything.
It's a dirty business.
It's almost chump change when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Even in that timeline. Well, maybe more to be continued with this, right?
Yeah.
And everybody check out Tom's show as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, the concept is, because, Tom's in with all the bands.
We can't let him go. I don't care who's telling him he's got to go. We got to ask him at least one sports question. One sports question, please.
But also, let's plug his show, Can You Get Me In? which is the play on. If you're connected in the music business at all,
Yeah, it's the word.
That's what everybody calls you. Can you get me into this show? Can you get me into that show?
Can you get me this backstage?
Yes,
you know,
right.
like tickets, backstage,
Which, by the way,
privileges.
Backstage is just 5 guys in their 50s looking at their iPhones.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses when you signed them.
No,
it's not like that
It's
anymore.
people pay to have a meet and greet before a show
Right.
so everybody can skate on it.
Well, I love talking to you guys. You're both heroes of mine, so it's
We love you
awesome to
guys.
sit here, you know, and talk to people that I idolize the same way people idolize me. You guys are so cool. I'm glad that we run into each other in the middle of nowhere in clubs while you're doing comedy and making me laugh.
Thank you, man.
You're one of those guys too, Tom, like even though we first met today, but I feel like I've known you forever. You know, it's one of those things that we know we could pick up and we could be on a plane together to Australia and we would still feel like there wasn't enough time.
Yeah, and now I know, you know, when I'm listening to you, now I know what you look like.
Yeah.
I have a perfect face for radio.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tom. Really appreciate it.
hey.
Do you have a sports question for him?
Well, I mean, let's get one thing.
All
We'll
right.
get one
on the
sports
record.
question and
What
then we'll
sport?
roll.
What's your favorite sport and what's the favorite team in that sport?
It would be football, and excuse me, my whole life growing up, like I was born in Detroit, but grew up in Chicago, and I was
Detroit,
like,
greatest city for music in the world.
one of my greatest things in my career was reissuing the Two Stooges albums and Kick Out the Jams. Danny Sugarman found out that's how I got
I'm gonna
involved
jump
in
over
the
the table and
Doors.
hug 'em now.
The Doors reissues.
Right.
But when I got to Elektra at 18, those records were out of print from Detroit. And I'm like, are you guys like stupid? Like these are two of the most seminal bands and 3 records ever made, you know. But so I grew up sitting up in the rafters in Soldier Field watching the Bears lose every year. And then later I got into the Detroit Lions so I could watch them lose. So I've been pretty excited, and I've gone on the
Glorious
sports show
times.
in Chattanooga and to root the Lions on, and 2 years in a row, like the Lions didn't have enough gas to get to the next round, and it bummed me out. But man, I wish the Lions could have got there. For a while, I'm like, you know what? This is WWE level. I'm convinced that the NFL is scripted just like wrestling.
Well,
You're not the first person that says this.
Anvil came on and said the
Rob
NHL is
Reiner,
scripted, and now from Tom Zutaw,
Yeah.
the NFL is scripted. So
To be continued.
To be continued.
Next time.
thank
They
you,
need you.
brother.
Awesome, man.
Appreciate
Awesome to
it,
meet
man.
you guys.
Yeah. Great to get a photo for the. But it was like giving us the.